thank you very much for joining me. You are the first guest on the red sofa.
Really?
Yes.
It is actually a red sofa as well. So I changed my name by Deepole a long time ago to do with shamanism. Yeah, but if you change your name, you change your destiny apparently, and then you have to forget your old name and your old self.
Does Genaro actually mean anything? Is it symbolic of something?
If you rearrange the letters, it means orange because that's what it spells. It is an anagram of the word orange. The Carlos Castaneda books about the teachings of Don Juan, which is again to do with shamanism, and that's where he was like my character. Genaro was very much like myself in personality, so that was the perfect name to take on. He was a lovely character. He's the kind of guy, if he found something funny, he'd throw his hat on the floor and start jumping up and down on it. Yeah. So yeah, a bit like me. Yeah. Probably don't have a hat at the moment. No. I'll be sad and low if you go. I'll be sad and low.
Whole sort of shamanistic approach to life for you. Are these sort of values that you live by then? Is it kind of a way of life for you?
Definitely. I mean, I can't pretend that I live by all the disciplines, because if I did, no one would see me, and I wouldn't be doing music, and I wouldn't have any friends.
You'd be because the
path of the sorcerer or the shaman is a solitary path. But I think you can take on some of the values and, you know, use them to help you live a better life, a more constructive life, and a more energetic life, and you can take energy in and push it out again. Yay! There it is. And I read the Castaneda books. I knew that I could never be down again. I could never be, you know, we all get our off days, but I could never be permanently down, because there's just too much great stuff in the universe to, you know, to not be excited about it. Yeah. You know, there's too many undiscovered things, and too many hidden truths, and all kinds of magic out there to be discovered. Yeah. And you know, I like to think I've been a party to it on a couple of occasions, and that's given me enough energy and power and hopefully wisdom to carry on my life in a good way. You know, inspirational, productive way. You know, trying to just do something good with the time that I've been blessed with.
It is spiritual because it affects people when they watch. It affected me as I was watching it. So for you, is it like almost like a spiritual?
On a good gig, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like last night, as an example, at the Grove, I just felt completely relaxed and totally in the zone, and I felt like I was infinitely powerful while I was on the stage. Yeah. You know, but there's other times when you're just kind of hanging on for dear life. You know, you're just kind of like riding a crazy horse. And you haven't really got control, and then it might not be quite as spiritual then, but you're still having a good giggle, and you might be working the crowd and getting a good buzz off it, but it's like you're not quite connected, you're just kind of way, and I've had a few of those, I've had plenty of those gigs. Yeah. And then if you had too many way gigs, then you just start to lose the plot. So yeah, you've got to strike a balance between way and oh. It's like if you can whistle and if you can do this, it's a bit like that. Or if you say wow, then it's that. Yeah. It's a similar sort of mouth shape. Yeah. To doing that, and once you figure that out, I mean, it took me quite a few months to figure that out. But I do teach harmonica, and I've taught people, and I've given them those little tips, and they've been able to do it within a few minutes. I might have got a bit of biscuit in there then. I brought a duo because I thought you might like to share.
Thank you.
Snickers is the only chocolate I really like, and of course the chocolate aficionados out there will say, well, it's not even proper chocolate. You know, well, I don't care what they think because I like it. And Snickers, when I'm on the road and I'm in a hurry, because I did years of doing driving jobs, the Snickers was just the thing you run in any shop, you know there's going to be a Snickers, and then I would invariably try and find a bottle of ginger beer to go with it, and it's the perfect little drive along and have that.
Yeah.
I rather like these bottles, they're very shaky.
Yeah. Very nice.
If I ever write a set list, I never stick to it because at the time I think that's a good idea, and then when I get on stage I think I can't possibly do that now.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right.
I'll get lynched.
Yeah.
You might have to edit this bit out.
Might have.
I still remember where I was when I first bent a note. I was actually on the Isle of Wight ferry, on the bottom deck where all the cars are.
Yeah.
Health and safety dictates you're not allowed to be down there anymore, but back in those days you could go down there, you could have a fag, you could poke around in the engines, you could pull the chain, you could flipping let off the horn, chuck the lifeboats over the side, shut up old ladies, chase dogs.
But maybe that's good because you found your own way with it. Because
when
you play, it does, to me, it almost sounds like the tone is so pure. It's like, sometimes it's like a violin play.
I was inspired by Larry Adler, and he's a classical player who didn't have a lot of time for the blues harmonica, but it was all about tone for him, and his tone is just like that. You'd think sometimes you hear him play the harmonica. There's a classic example if you listen to on Sting's album, I think it's the album that's the 10 Summoners Tales, the song that's called Shape of My Heart. Which
I love that. That's my favourite.
The harmonica on there is played by Larry Adler, and a lot of people don't even know that it's harmonica because it's. Some people might think it's quite close to the female voice or a violin or something, but it's just a lovely sound. That's a harmonica.
You do the beatboxing as well, which is is that something that
I think that's another thing that Larry Adler didn't do.
Yeah, exactly.
He should have done. He should have got into that.
Yeah.
Be like yo yo. And what I discovered was when you put the microphone on and just put it up to your gob and you did weird noises, it sounded brilliant through the headphones, and I used to start doing that along with the War of the Worlds, and it sounded great, and I just used to do it a lot, and I just, and I wasn't aware, but that was like early human beatbox, and that was when I was, let's just go back to, it would have been like, late 70s.
Yeah.
Seriously, not even joking, late 70s, before I even went to like big school or anything, something like I was always like, just doing beats all the time. But only just for amusement. I was around about 20, I think, and I was going out with a woman who was twice my age, which was a nice experience. And I just decided to see if I could write a song as a songwriting exercise, and I wrote this song called Can't Let You Go, which I still play in sets today.
Yeah.
A lot of people come up and say, "There's a really lovely song that's really moving. Who did you write that for?" I was like, well, I didn't really. I have to be brutally honest with you. I just wrote it to see if I could write a song. I did support David Essex, in 2009. I did become the subject of a lot of sort of I'd say middle-aged women's affections.
Yeah.
When I was on that tour, just because they thought they could get closer to David through me.
Yeah.
And in some cases I was happy to let them think that. No, I'm joking. Like they baked him a cake or they've knitted him a jumper. It's all like homemade goodies or a bottle of this or a bottle of that, and I'd have to take it through to him, and I'd go knock on his door and he'd just be laughing, going, what have they brought for me this time?
Your whole sort of journey's been, it feels like it's been sort of quite an organic kind of process, and then suddenly you find yourself in a sort of commercial setup.
Being processed
and having that, that input from somebody else who's a voice coach and all that. How did you find that?
Actually, when I first met the voice coach, because I thought, he's going to be all over me, he's going to absolutely shred me, because I'd heard stories from other people about what it's like when they think they're good singers, and all of a sudden they stand in front of the voice coach, and the voice coach just tears them a new one, basically.
Yeah.
So I thought, here we go, look. But afterwards, the guy said, you've got the best falsetto I've ever heard, and he was all over my voice. He said, I really like it when you push the loud stuff out and blah blah blah. And he was really complimentary. He had some things to say about my breathing, and the fact that he obviously spotted I was asthmatic, and he obviously spotted the fact I was a smoker. Even if you know your voice is going to crack and explode, just go for it anyway.
Yeah.
It's better to do that and still have the energy of the performance than it is to shy away thinking I'm not going to be able to hit those notes.
Yeah.
I'd rather go for the notes and fail.
Yeah.
Than not go for the notes, So when you hear me, it's warts and all with the performance, and on a good night, everything will just be flowing, and I'll be the king of it all.
Yeah.
Chicken train. This is just another gig.
Yeah.
you know, but obviously I'm aware of the enormity of the situation when I'm bouncing around on stage like an idiot and the 4 guys haven't turned round yet, and I'm like, I can't even remember how many that room holds, but it's at least 1,000, and the room, you know, every seat is full. There's a lot of vibe. It's very hot under the lights, obviously. So you're high as a kite, but then also there's this feeling in the pit of your stomach like they haven't turned around, and at the end of it, it's this weird sort of happy, sad thing of, oh God, I didn't make it, but oh, that was a brilliant, and everyone's, you know, and it's very strange. It's like you float, you know, you're kind of suspended. You're halfway between the two things, you know, and you can't go either way. You can't be totally elated, and you can't be completely down in the dumps.
If you played one of your songs that you've just played, you know, you would have got through it. I would have turned my chair.
Well, thank you. I wish you'd been on the judges.
I know, I should have been. You never know. If Kylie gets bored of it.
You're listening to the voice, and ideally, you know, you want to be able to compare it with something you've heard. You know, if you're the judge, it's no use, you know, unless you've heard the song, you won't know how well they're doing it.
Yeah.
You know, because the argument is, if you get up and do one of your own songs and someone criticises you on it, you can go, yeah, well, it's meant to be like that. It's just my song. Leave me alone.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
You know, so yeah, the voice. It's not that kind of format. But having said that, I mean, I would have loved the opportunity to do one of my own songs on there. That would have been awesome. And if that had been an option, that's what I would have obviously done.
Yeah.
If destroyed, still true. If destroyed, still true.
So when you went and sat in will.i.am's chair, was that planned or was that just in a moment? It just happened.
No, it wasn't planned. It was just. I think I needed to sit down after all that running around. To be honest, I just needed to sit down. You know, I'm 42 years old.
Yeah.
You know, he's such a good guy for just playing along. You know, because he didn't have to. He could have sat there all poker faced and just. My pleas could have fallen on deaf ears, and that would have been awful.
Yeah.
You know, and if they kept, oh, I really want to sit in your chairs, and everyone was just like, it's not going to happen, matey boy. You stay there, we'll stay here. Do you know what I mean?
You're the only person who's actually managed to sit in one of the judges' chairs.
Well, I think there was a kid that did it.
Was there?
I mean, yeah, but it wasn't the kid. The kid wasn't singing, but I think the kid was the child of someone else who was singing on there in the previous series. In fact, I did get slated for that in the newspaper. They're like, "Oh yeah, Genaro said he wanted to sit in the judges' chairs, blah blah blah." But the last person that did that was just a kid, as if to say, "Well, Genaro's just a big kid." Well, yeah, actually, you hit the nail on the head. Yes, I am a big kid. Thanks very much. I enjoyed sitting in those chairs, and I'm proud of it. And I'll do it again tomorrow, given half a chance. But I'd have to get past security. Chicken Train was just something I just trumped up. It wasn't really anything. It was just me farting around, really. And when I did that on the stage, it was just because I don't even know what possessed me, really. It certainly wasn't rehearsed or pre-planned or anything. When I decide to do something, I just do it. But I'm also aware of the fact that if you're going to do something where you're possibly aware in the back of your mind that the band might join in because they're a house band and they're obviously very good, you have to do something they're going to be able to join in very quickly with. Chicken Train! It's something I've farted around with before. Just randomly. It was just something that I had as just a... Because of the fact that I can make a chicken noise with the harmonica.
Yeah.
He said, getting the harmonica to demonstrate. Because you can do that, and you can also go... I decided to record Chicken Train and maybe put it into the public consciousness. But we haven't done it the same as we did on Voice. We've done it as a dance track, because that's how it turned out.
Yeah.
Everything in my life seems to happen quite organically, and this was no exception. I do want world peace. I know I said it on The Voice, and people probably thought, yeah, what a cheesemonger, but actually, I do want world peace. But it's all about the tone for me, you know, the harmonica. It should be about finding the most beautiful tone, something that's just going to make people weep. I mean, I'll get involved in anything that sounds like it's a half decent cause, you know. I wouldn't say I'm into the adopt a snow leopard thing or whatever, because, you know, if you adopt a snow leopard, unless you actually see the snow leopard, have you adopted a snow leopard? You know, where's the snow leopard? If I've adopted a snow leopard, I want to see it. Yeah. You know, I want to sit it on my lap and stroke it, and it's probably bite my hand off, but you know what I'm saying? It's been a very comfortable sofa, actually.
Isn't it? You could sleep on this one.
I would actually, yeah.
Many people have.
Well, if I do a gig at your house, I'll make the exception, just crash on the settee. As long as I haven't got to share with 5 hippies.
Yeah.
4 hippies. I'll draw the line at 5. 4 hippies is okay. You know, you can have 2 hippies each side, but you don't want a hippie on top.
No, that's certainly not.
Unless they're, well, never mind. If they're a really hot hippie, you might make the excuse. You might make the exception, but then you've got, you know, explaining to do to your girlfriend.
Yeah. Song about badgers to come?
Well, no, because the badgers do feature in the Chicken Train. I'm not saying I wouldn't write a song about a badger, but it would have to be the right song.
Yeah.
I wouldn't just do it for the sake of it, but if the perfect badger song came up, I'd have to do it, you know, because the songs write themselves.
Yeah.
You know, if a badger song was going to come out, it would come out.
Yeah.
You know, I've written pigeon songs, chicken songs, songs about PlayStations, PlayStation Hero. You know, it's funny. I never thought I'd have another ball and chain around my ankle that wasn't PlayStation Hero.
Yeah.
Because PlayStation Hero was always the ball and chain. It was always the song everyone's like, Genaro, do PlayStation Hero. Now it's all about Chicken Trainer.
Yeah.
PlayStation Hero's been forgotten.
I want to hear that one.
It's the next single. That will be. It's already recorded and done and ready. It's
Yeah.
the next single, and it is
brilliant.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
PlayStation Hero, it is a classic. I mean, oh well, so it's a future classic as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
because so many people seem to like that song. If it had the right marketing, I think it would do really well. If it didn't, it'll always just be one of those culty things. Everyone will go, oh, do you remember that bloke Genaro used to play the mouth organ? Yeah, that weird song about those, what were those things called? Those things you used to plug into the television, and that was PlayStation. Oh yes, PlayStation Hero, wasn't it? A great little song. There's only 2 chords as I recall, but very, 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 very uplifting, nice beat, really, really get a groove onto it, wasn't it? And yeah, so that sort of thing. So, next single.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being on my sofa.
You're very welcome.
And I enjoyed the ginger beer and the Snickers.
I'm glad you like that combo.
Yeah.
It's my travel. It's the travel combo.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Si.
Thank you. Get the tip of my bee. Messy.
That's brilliant.